Thanks for getting my name right. Okay?
Yeah.
Right. This is a sad story. Stop laughing.
Sorry, Paul.
It's okay. You were born in the suburbs of Los Angeles, California. Wet and naked and upside down. You can't yet distinguish the lines that define you against the world around you, against the father around you. You and your mother, on the other hand, are not yet separate, but still one, literally one physical entity. Connected by this cord is the closest you two will ever be, but this closeness is short-lived because the doctors sever this tie, and now both of you are forever different. As if you've taken something from her, something intangible from the very core of her. Your mother will forever resent you. At least your father is proud to have a son. From him, you inherit the name Francis. Your father is an infinitely sad man who grooms you to be a writer because he's a lawyer, and lawyers are just failed writers. He surrounds you with Nabokov, Dostoevsky, and Cormac McCarthy, and you're not even 12 yet, but from these authors you already know the meaning of suffering. You already know that people are bad, and people are insane, and most suffer unredeemable qualities. Before he leaves this world, your father wishes that, if anything, he has taught you to be a writer the way these writers were writers. You will not become a writer. At your father's funeral, while looking at his cold, opaque body, you decide that you too will die young. You convince yourself you will die before you're 18. You write a teenage bucket list, but you get a job at a video store where you make a friend, a pale boy named Franklin. Because of Franklin, you shorten your name to Frank, and you smoke weed and steal movies and get fired from the video store. Before you know it, you're 18 years old and you're still alive and you haven't done a thing on that bucket list. On your 18th birthday, Franklin is laughing about the fact that you're still alive. He says, maybe you got the numbers wrong, and you agree. So you convince yourself you'll die before you're 21. You don't, of course. So on your 21st birthday, you go to a bar in Los Angeles with your best friend. There you meet the love of your life, the girl from whom you'll never recover. Her name is Ada Lemon. She buys you a drink and you talk about heavy things. When you tell her you'll die before you're 25, she asks unflinchingly if you will kill yourself. You tell her no. Your father committed suicide, so this is not an option. She nods because she understands, then she asks more questions. Ada does not talk about herself. She has a way of bringing the conversation back to you without being judgmental or accusatory. She's exactly the type of girl you want. By the end of the night, after your best friend has left the bar, after everyone else has left the bar, you two are still talking about you, and you are in love. You graduate, you bartend, the bar burns down, but unfortunately you were not in it, so you get a job in the library. Over the phone, Franklin, who's left the US to teach English in Korea, tells you to get a TESOL certificate and teach with him. You say maybe, but things are going well with Ada, so he understands that means no. One night, as you and Ada hold each other in bed, wet and naked and looking out at the chemical red Los Angeles moon, Ada tells you that people misunderstand you, but not her. You're a comedy, she says, not a tragedy, Frank. You're the funniest man to ever live, but no one gets your jokes. You're like Woody Allen in the 90s. You're turning 25 in less than 10 minutes. She asks you if you're scared you'll be wrong about dying. You say, I still have 10 minutes left. When you don't die, you tell her you will when you're 30. Ada Lemon loves you, she really does, but she grows tired of this game. She hangs on just barely for a couple more years, but when she can no longer take it, she'll call you the most depressed man in the world. Then she'll leave you. You're 27 and alone. You get that TESOL certificate. You join Franklin, who's now living in Japan. He'll take you to bars. He'll let you talk about her. He'll introduce you to women and sit by you patiently as you dismiss each and every one of them for not being her. He'll order you another round of drinks. He'll be your best friend. You're 29 now, And at the doctors, you find out that it is in fact possible for men to develop breast cancer because this is what you have. You call your mother, who's created a new life for herself in Seattle, and all she tells you is that her mother died of breast cancer, so maybe that's where you got it from. You say, "Thank you, mother." And then you hang up on her. And then you start chemo. Your best friend watches you shave your head. He sits next to your body and tells you stories of the women he's dating and the things he's seen. You try to listen, but all you hear is the buzz of the machines connected to your body and the murmurs of the doctors who, like ghosts, hover in and out of view. You learn your room. You try to listen, You try to listen, but all you hear is the buzz of machines connected to your body and the murmurs of doctors who, like ghosts, hover in and out of the room. You learn your room, the sounds of your room. You learn the tick of the clock above and the coughs and cries of the sick outside. All these sounds are the sounds of the same thing, this thing that is coming for you after all these years of waiting. I knew I would die by 30, you tell your friend. He smiles. He puts his hand on your shoulder and he says, "Frank, you're the blindest man I know." You shift in your bed and you tell him it hurts. "I want Ada," you say. He takes your hand into his. You hold on as tight as you can, but it's no longer a grip so much as it's a limp curling of the fingers. This, of all things, is what most embarrasses you, that you can no longer grip your best friend's hand. That these hours and days of chemo have taken away your handshake and you're no longer a man. This is the darkest time of your life. And you survive it. The cancer goes into remission, and at 30, you're not dead. You're healthy. Now 31, eating and jogging. You've gained weight. You return to Los Angeles, and here you lose touch with your best friend, Franklin. The truth of the matter is, your friendship is, and always was, based on your suffering. So although the cancer was the darkest period of your life, it was also the strongest your friendship would ever be. Everything after the cancer just feels like two strangers in an empty stadium hours after the big games ended. When Franklin returns to Los Angeles years later, it's with the love of his life, a young Japanese woman named Nori. And although you're proud of him and you're the best man at his wedding, your toast to their happiness falls flat and not a single person is moved. Franklin does not call you to tell you about his honeymoon to the world's megacities. He does not call you to tell you he and his wife are pregnant. You're not invited to his child's baptism. You're not his child's godfather. You're not stupid. You understand that you are no longer your best friend's best friend. Years pass. You sit now alone at your apartment window. You watch the red chemical moon of Los Angeles turn the Hollywood sign orange, and you close your eyes and you ask yourself this question. Who am I? You've waited too long to ask yourself this, but you're glad you finally did. There, alone and oblivious to your coming death, you realize what your best friend meant when he said you're the blindest man he knows. You remember how she looked, Ada Lemon, when she stood at the doorway of your old apartment before she left you. Her eyes with tears, she told you you're a million miles away, so technically she's not the one leaving. Frank, she said, pay attention to your life, Frank. Frank, for once, will you fucking stop thinking about yourself and just pay attention? You reminded her that she once called you a comedy, not a tragedy. Yes, Frank, I did, but I didn't know you back then. I thought you were being ironic with the whole death wish thing, but the fact of the matter is, there is no irony in your life, Frank, and that is your tragedy. You're 60 now, and you wonder how Ada Lemon is doing these days. You're 60 now and sitting at your desk. You're 60 now and in front of a word processor, you speak to your father. You say, "Okay, Francis, I'll be the writer you always wanted me to be." You consider the women after Ada Lemon, all of them. The ones you left, the ones who left you. You consider the nurse, the fellow teacher, the hostess, the master chef, the former student. You consider the sounds of their voices and the millions of different ways they all said, "I love you." And you consider the way you shut down. You are the glass-windowed store that closes with its lights still on inside. They watched you from the outside, saw you through the glass of you, and there you were inside of you, basking deep in your own dull fluorescence.